Have you ever heard of a little monkey named George? He was a good little monkey, but he was always very, very curious. He lived in a big jungle in Africa, swinging from tree to tree, playing with all his animal friends. He was happy, but his curiosity often got him into little adventures. One day, a man with a big yellow hat saw George playing. The man thought, "What a fine little monkey. I would like to take him home with me." He put his big yellow hat on the ground and hid behind a tree. George, being naturally curious, saw the hat. He had never seen such a big, yellow hat before. He came down from the tree to look at it. The hat was so big that when George put it on, he couldn't see anything. And just like that, the man popped out, scooped him up, and put him in a bag. Poor little George. They got on a big ship to go to a big city. George was sad to leave his home, but he was also curious about this new adventure. On the ship, he saw some seagulls flying by. He wanted to fly too. So he climbed up the ship's mast, grabbed a rope, and tried to fly. But instead of flying, he fell right off the ship into the chilly ocean water. Splash. Luckily, the sailors saw him fall. They threw him a life preserver, and the man with the yellow hat pulled him back onto the deck. George was cold and wet, but he was safe. The man with the yellow hat said, "George, you are too curious. But I'm glad you're okay." He wrapped George in a warm blanket, and they watched the waves together until they arrived in the big city. The city was a loud, busy, and amazing place. Cars, tall buildings, so many people. The man with the yellow hat took George to his home. George had his own little bed, and he loved it. The next morning, the man with the yellow hat had to go out. Before he left, he told George, "Be a good little monkey and don't get into any trouble." But you know George, right? He was just too curious. First, he found the telephone. He had seen the man with the yellow hat talking into it. George wanted to try. He picked it up and started pressing all the buttons. Beep, boop, bop. Suddenly, a loud ringing sound came from the phone. It was the fire department. George had accidentally called them. He got so scared he dropped the phone and hid under the bed. Soon, he heard sirens getting closer and closer. Wee-woo, wee-woo. Firefighters rushed into the apartment, ready to put out a fire. But there was no fire. They just found a very scared little monkey hiding. The firefighters were not happy. "You can't play with the telephone, little monkey," one of them said. They told him he had to go to a place where he couldn't cause any more trouble. They took him to jail. George was in a small room with bars on the window. He was sad and lonely. He missed the jungle, and he even missed the man with the yellow hat. He looked round the room and saw a little cot. He climbed on it and noticed he could reach the window. He looked out and saw a watchman sitting on a stool. The watchman was big, but George was small and quick. He squeezed through the bars, slid down a telephone wire, and landed right on the street below. He was free. But where could he go? He saw a man selling balloons. So many colors: red, blue, green, yellow. George, being curious, wanted a balloon. He sneakily grabbed the whole bunch. But the balloons were filled with a special gas that made them float, and as soon as George grabbed them, they lifted him right off the ground. Whoosh, up, up, up he went. Floating over the city, he could see all the houses and cars getting smaller and smaller. It was a little scary, but also a lot of fun. He felt like a bird. He floated high above the traffic until the wind started to push him. He floated this way and that, not knowing where he was going. Then he saw a familiar sight down below. A big yellow hat. It was the man with the yellow hat. He was looking for George. George was so happy to see him. But how could he get down? The wind blew him right towards a traffic light. He let go of the balloons, one by one, until he floated gently down and landed right on top of the traffic light. All the cars stopped. People got out to see what was happening. And the man with the yellow hat looked up and saw him. "George," he shouted. He was so relieved. He bought all the balloons from the balloon man and helped George get down. Then he took George to a wonderful new home, the city zoo. At the zoo, George had a special place just for him. There were trees to climb, ropes to swing on, and other animals to play with. He was safe, and he couldn't get into too much trouble. Lots of people, especially children, came to visit him every day. George was still a very curious monkey, but now he had a safe place to have all his adventures. And the man with the yellow hat came to visit him all the time. George was happy, and so was his friend. And that is the story of how a curious little monkey found a new home and a lifelong friend. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next story.